What's up guys, it's Wagishmarkin here, bringing you another build video, and this is going to be the second video in my Zero in Every Scale series. Today I'm building the 1/72nd scale Hasegawa Mitsubishi A6M2. So originally this was supposed to be the Airfix 72nd scale one. I got all the way to the clear coat stage and then had catastrophic orange peel and a host of other problems that appeared out of nowhere from what seemed like a good build. So that ended up getting thrown away. I ran out and I purchased a different 72nd scale kit, which is the one you see here. So cracking open the box, right away, just a comment. I love box art, and this box art is way nicer than the Airfix one. Airfix ones look nice, but there's just something about the paintings over the CG that I really like. Now I can't show you the decals because they were a bit yellow when I bought this kit. These are all old Airfix things. The decals were a bit yellow when I bought this kit, so I already have them bleaching in a window. Right away, I like a lot of things this kit does better than the Airfix one. For example, this cowling is molded in a much nicer way. It's got very tiny sprue gates in easy to clean locations and no flash anywhere else, unlike the Airfix one, which requires a lot of cleanup and it's pretty roughly molded anyway. Elsewhere, I think the surface detail is better on this kit than the Airfix one. I think there are more panel lines and they are smaller. Like, Airfix has trenches. That's just some people who really like panel lines like that, and I happen to like panel lines, but I just think Airfixes are a bit too deep. I think these ones are just about right. They're all recessed. Now, where this kit falls short of the Airfix one is in the interior. The Airfix one has a really nice interior with molded on structure on the inside and everything. This kit doesn't really have anything at all. And when you come to the rest of the cockpit on this one, it's just kind of bland. The Airfix one has that nice curvature and a ton of structure, and the seat has all its nice holes in its correct shape, which this one isn't. So I did save the cockpit from the Airfix one, so I might be mixing and matching some parts just to get what I really want out of this kit. Otherwise, there's basically no flash, no real mold seams or ejector pins. It's a pretty old kit, but details are alright. And yep, I'll see you guys in the build. I began the build with the cockpit. The kit cockpit was a bit too Spartan, so I decided to loot parts from the Airfix cockpit and do some scratch building to make it more interesting. The kit seat was too small, the wrong shape, and missing holes. I used the Airfix seat instead. A Zero's seat is suspended from the bulkhead behind the pilot. However, in this kit, the seat sits alone on a pedestal. Though the kit seat sits way too far forward, I used sheet styrene to add this detail. The Airfix kit features some distinct detail on the cockpit floor. I replicated this with cut bits of sheet styrene. Basing the location off of the Airfix cockpit, I used stretched sprue and superglue to create throttle and engine mixture knobs. While the glue in the cockpit was setting, I assembled the two halves of the fuselage. The fit was very good, with only a small amount of putty and sanding needed. I painted the interior of the fuselage, the area under the canopy, and all cockpit parts Tamiya XF71 cockpit green. Instead of the typical washes, I tried a different method of shading the cockpit this time. However, I forgot to record this technique on this model, so here instead is how I use this technique on my Gladiator. I then began to detail paint the cockpit using different red, blue, silver, and black colors from various model paint manufacturers, mostly Vallejo. With my X-Acto knife, I cut out some thin strips of surgical tape, which I used to add seat belts to the kit. These are very visible under the canopy and are a good addition to any model. I then applied the interior decals. Typically, you should do this over a gloss surface. However, since they did not need to conform to anything and would be barely visible, I elected to simply go ahead and add them onto the flat paint. To help combat silvering and to secure these loose decals, I put a little bit of future over each one. With the decals complete, I finished assembling the fuselage, gluing the upper cowl and cockpit assembly into place. With the fuselage complete, I turned my attention to the wings. These are very straightforward and should require no further explanation. Once the wings were complete, I attached the two sub-assemblies. This fit was very good and required no filler. For this build, I decided to give traditional pre-shading another shot. Instead of black, I used Tamiya German Gray, and I carefully sprayed this along the panel lines. Once the pre-shading was done, I began to paint. The overall color I used is a 1:3:6 mixture. 1 part white, 3 parts XF76, and 6 or more parts Tamiya thinner. I lightly misted this mixture over the model in multiple coats, steadily building the effect I wanted. Once I had completed the painting, I gave the entire model 2 coats of Tamiya X22 clear and let the model sit for a week. I then applied decals in my typical fashion, making good use of microset and microsol. On these decals, the microsol was very strong, the decals becoming highly breakable while drying. After spraying another coat of X22, I had another first with this model. I used Flory Wash for the first time, and I was very impressed. I think that I am a definite convert, and I will probably never use anything else for general washes. Once the wash had set, I simply wiped off the excess with a damp paper towel, and the results were obvious. I then built, painted, and installed the engine and cowling in my typical fashion. Once my flat coat had dried, Vallejo matte varnish, I began weathering. I tried oil paint streaking for the first time in a serious capacity, and though not perfect, I believe it captures the look of spilled fuel. Here, I accidentally installed the landing gear backwards. I later caught this mistake and reversed them. Be careful as you build, and always remember to consult the instructions. With the aircraft virtually complete, I installed the canopy with microcrystal clear. I then made the aerial with easy line and superglue, and with that, the build was complete. Alright guys, and here's the finished model. Overall, I really like this model. It's my first Hasegawa kit. I think they did a very good job. It's a really nice kit. Surface detail ended up really nice, and the decals conformed wonderfully. You can see a couple spots where they didn't conform quite well enough for my wash to work, but overall I think they did exactly what I wanted from them. So also my first build I tried using easy line. Big fan of this stuff already, and this was a pretty simple application of it. Works really, really well. I think this is my favorite 72nd scale kit I've done so far. Not necessarily for the kit, but just for the finish. It's my favorite paint work. I think it's really fun to do these monocolor builds once in a while, because they give you an opportunity to practice pure paint work and not have to fuss with camouflage schemes and variable colors and such. This is actually a lot of firsts, because I finally got to try the Flory Models washes. Massive fan of these. I'm gonna burn through these so fast, so that's really cool. They're really nice. They work really well. This is also first. I've never really used Tamiya weathering pigments. I don't remember what they're called, but I used the Tamiya Weathering Master. I used Tamiya Weathering Master soot to do some of this gun stain, and I think that came out pretty good. It was a little bit too heavy when I originally did it, but I used a wet cotton swab and scrubbed that off. I also messed around with the oil streaking to get a little bit of fuel streaking, which it looks all right. I don't know if it's noticeable enough. It looks kind of strange. It's a bit too red, that brown that I mixed. I was not able to use the proper Awataki color. That's way too blue and way too light. I didn't have any, and I couldn't make it out to the hobby shop, so I mixed it out of silver and blue that I had lying around. But yeah, this was a good kit. I'm not sure which is better, this or the Airfix kit. I definitely like the Airfix kit Cockpit better, but this has way more decal options, and I think it's got better surface detail. So for 72nd scale, Cockpit's not really... Cockpit's kind of a meh thing. So this versus the Airfix one, I'd advise this one. So this was number 2 in my definitely 4, possibly 5 video series, a 0 in every scale. I've done 1/144, and I've done this one now, which is 1/72. Next up is going to be Tamiya's 1/48 scale one, and then Tamiya's 32nd, and if I can find it at prices that are not crippling, I will get the Trumpeter 1/24 scale and do that as well. So, if you would like to see the last video, the 1/144 scale one, click here. And if you would like to see the next video when it's available, the 1/48 scale one, click here. Thanks for watching, leave a like and a comment, and if you want to, hit that subscribe button. Thanks.